This is my Micro Draco. It's the smallest member of the Draco family. There's the regular AK, and then that's full size. Then you have the Draco, the Mini Draco, and the Micro Draco. This one being the Micro Draco. Came with a 30 round magazine, a little flash hider here, a wooden handguard up front, and black polymer grip. Weighs about 5 pounds without the magazine, and of course with the magazine loaded it'll be even heavier. Barrel's about 6 inches, and as you know, if this Micro Draco fires the 7.62 by 39 AK round. There's a steel frame, and it's about 15 inches or so in total length, and the handguard is pretty comfortable and fits right in there, works great. There's only one problem. I think it's ugly, so I decided to give my Micro Draco a makeover. And what we're going to be doing is installing the, they call it the Solo AK 3.7 inch handguard from SL Rifle Works. There's their little logo. And they made a great little piece here. I also picked up the hand stop that'll go on front here. Comes with a longer, comes with the correct screws to mount it on the front of the Micro Draco, and we'll be going through that. It'll be the first step here. I'm going to remove this, install this handguard from SL Rifle Works. The next step will be to install this SBA Tactical, the SBA 3 arm brace, and it's attached to a folding adapter, which also can be used for other guns that can have stocks on them. This is not a stock, of course. Your hand goes through here. And of course, you have to release these straps, and it gives you a fulcrum to hold this pistol. This pistol weighs, like I said, about 5 pounds, and with the magazine full, it's going to be even heavier. You'll be able to hold it out at arm's length out in front of you and fire this. Get tired pretty quick, and your accuracy will, of course, go to nothing in a hurry. So this thing folds like this, and when it comes over here, the spring right here will push this assembly down, so this little thing here goes down to this notch, like a little tooth there, goes down in there and locks it open. To close it, you do the same thing. You push this back up and fold it over, which I'll attempt to do here. A little bit harder when it's not on the, not mounted. Well, we'll do that later. Oh, it's also adjustable right here for different arm lengths, so that'll be handy. And I'll be able to fire this Micro Draco without getting too tired. All right, so step one is remove this and install the SL Rifle Works handguard. This is made of 6061 aluminum, I think. It's a nicely machined piece with its mount. This also looks very nicely machined. It has a black phosphate finish, and also includes a place to put the quick disconnect for like a sling right here. Of course, you can also put a light or a laser whatever it is on here. There are other handguards that are made for the Micro Draco. The reason I chose this one is because the Micro Draco is a pretty big pistol, but I don't want it to be even bigger. So I thought I would like this smaller offering here from SLR Rifle Works to keep the pistol from getting even bigger and heavier. There are other ones that provide a rail up here on top. You can put other things on there. Maybe that's what you think you would want or need, but for me, I'm going to stick with this small one here. Removing the handguard should be easy. I'm using a 3mm hex wrench. That's the one that fit in there. So let's just loosen this screw. There's the little screw with a washer. The wooden handguard just slides right off. It's got these two little dowels that have been pressed in here, which go in here in the front of the receiver. So the SLR Rifle Works piece, instead of having two rods or a round protrusion sticking out, it has a nicely machined piece, which I believe should fit right in here. There we go. Let's get rid of this magazine here. This gun is empty. Safety is incredibly important when we're handling firearms. Always check to make sure your firearm is empty, or even one that someone gives you. 3 times in my life I've been handed a firearm. 2 times I was told it was empty. 1 time the guy said he didn't know when I asked him if it was loaded. And during those 3 instances, I found I was handed a loaded weapon, which of course is not good. So if you follow all the safety rules, you will never have a problem. So here's the screw. I'm going to attach our mount. I believe that's going to require a smaller hex wrench. Let me find it. I think that's the one. Yes. There it goes. It has started. Tighten it up. If I find these come loose in the future, of course I can pretty easily just put some Loctite on it. Next comes this piece, which mounts with screws through these 2 holes right here onto this mount. I also have my hand stop I'm going to put right here. It'll be up here even with the front. As you can see, when the hand stop is installed, I no longer have access to this screw here. So I'll just rotate it, put this in place and tighten that up, and then return and straighten this out and tighten that. Let's slide this on. This is a very well machined and designed parts here with tight tolerances. It just slides right on. Now we'll put our screws in. Let's see if this is the correct wrench. It is. Okay. Now snug those up now that we've got them both in place and seated. I never tighten one screw all the way and then go to the other one, because the piece I'm putting together may shift slightly as the screws go in. Alright, next we'll tighten our hand stop. Oh, that's a star. I just happen to have one of those here. This should be the right one. My cat tried to jump up here to see what I'm doing. He's always curious as to what I'm up to. So there you go. In my estimation, this is a lot better looking setup than the original laminated wood handguard. Although this works great and feels good. The problem is I'm willing to make a slight sacrifice in comfort and function for aesthetics. So here we have our Micro Draco with the SLR Rifle Works Solo AK 3.7 handguard on there with the additional hand stop that I purchased. Hand stop is important because you know, the end of the barrel is right here. You don't want your hand out here anywhere. So this helps to make sure that you have a nice easy stop for your hand there. Keeps you holding it in a safe fashion. Alright, on to step 2. That's where we want to install the US machine gun folding adapter that is attached to my SBA tactical arm brace. I have used this brace on another Draco and also on an AR pistol, and I really like it. So we're going to put that on here as well. First thing we'll need to do is remove this cover here, and then remove the spring, and there's a little block here. I'll show you. The reason we need to do that is because how this thing is put together is this pistol grip has an angle to it, right? So the screw that goes in here is angled as well. And then there's a matching nut in here, which is machined on an angle, so it sits at the same angle as the screw that goes through the pistol grip. And if I remember right, as soon as I take this screw out and turn the Micro Draco upside down, that little machined and angled nut is just resting in a little hole there, will fall out. So we'll have to take this off. So let's go ahead and do that. See if I can get that done. Push my release here. There we go. So the little cover slides off. But to put it back on, the end of the cover goes in this little, underneath this little lip right here. Sometimes if you don't get it under there, or if it doesn't stay under there, when you put your cover on, this little thing that you push here will snap through the hole, but the end of your cover will be sticking over the edge of the back of the receiver, and it won't really be in place. The front end will tilt up, so we'll get to that in a minute. Let's slide this off. So now we have removed our recoil spring. There's a little block I mentioned. The Micro Draco is the only one that uses this block. Has something to do with the size and design of this bolt here. The bolt is able to come back too far, and then the end of this right here comes all the way out of the gas tube, and it may not make it back in. So that's what all that's about. We don't need to remove this to do our our job here in the back with our arm brace. Looks like we're able to just use a regular screwdriver. There's our hole. So we'll run this screw out. Remove our pistol grip. There's the screw that holds it on. And I don't know if you heard that, but the little angled retaining nut just fell out, just like I thought it would. So this is angled. You need to put it in so that it has an angle that matches the angle of the pistol grip, because as you can see here, it's upside down. It's angled the wrong way. So we're going to rotate it around so that when it's in, probably be this way, angled backwards at the same angle that our pistol grip goes. So that's an easy thing there. So let's just take that, leave that in there, set this aside. Now since this bottom part here has thickness to it, the screw that's required to bolt this onto the gun up into this little nut here is going to need to be longer. And US Machine Gun gave me a longer bolt. In the instructions they said something about the diameter of this not matching the diameter of that. In other words, see, this goes right in there, right? But this one won't because it's too big. So what we have to do is one of two things. One, reduce the diameter of the end of this bolt, which is not difficult. Or get a drill and open this up to a diameter that will allow this to go in. And I think that's the route I'm going to go. If you're considering using US Machine Gun's folding adapter with an SBA tactical arm brace, and maybe taking it off and going back to stock, you would have a hole that's too big, and that might allow for some shifting of the pistol grip because the hole would be bigger than the end of the screw. So in that case, you could, like I say, either buy a new pistol grip or reduce the diameter of the head of this bolt probably on a grinder, and then a file to file it smooth, and you can glue it. So that's actually pretty easy, but that's not what I'm going to do. So I need to measure the diameter of the end of this bolt. about 393 thousandths. Get a drill here, a drill bit we can use. That's 394. Almost the exact same size. I was hoping to find let's see what the next one up is. Nope, I don't want that big of a gap. So I'm going to use this one to make this whole diameter bigger. Now there's a stop here where the bottom edge of this head of this bolt rests on. It's down about that far. We can measure it down that far. There's like a little shoulder in there. We won't be making the shoulder deeper. We'll just be making the hole wider. So when this goes in, we cannot pass this shoulder, because if we're not careful, you'll be removing the whole shoulder, and then no matter what screw you put in there, won't work. Well, unless you put a really long one on there and a washer in the end, but that's gonna look kind of, no, that won't look good. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so I finished enlarging the hole here and preserving my the little shoulder in there, which is required. So this has a stop to push the grip up against the receiver. So the drill bit I used was about 1/1000ths bigger than what I measured the end of this little bolt is. So this should, as you can see, slide in, be kind of snug. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to put this together. So a moment ago I knocked my little nut out of place, so we put it back in place. Remember, it needs to be angled towards the back to match the angulation of the grip, like that. Okay. Enlarging this hole here was it wasn't particularly hard, but it was a bit more of a hassle than I wanted it to be. This being a polymer, the material soft and grabs onto the drill bit rather readily, making it a little tricky not to, change the depth of this little shoulder in here, or eliminate it if you're not careful. I probably could have used a grinder and made the head of this bolt smaller more quickly than I was able to do this. And then I got this little knife here and cleaned up the little burrs around the edge. My son was kind enough to lend me his little knife. Now we're going to put this together. So the grip goes like that. The back of the trigger guard fits right in this little slot right here. So when all this is together, this won't be able to move in any direction. It can't go back, can't go forward, can't go right or left, because these little walls here, angled lips here on this folding adapter, come up here on the other side of the receiver. So let's see if we can get that done without too much fanfare. So this should just fit right in here, and this little angled nut here will go through this little rectangular opening like so. Okay, so far so good. And I have my little nut here at the correct angle. Then you put in your handguard, or rather your pistol grip, and it slides forward, and the back of the trigger guard goes in that little slot right there, like that. I'm keeping my finger on this little nut, because if not, it'll just drop and fall out, and I'll have to put it back in. And here's my bolt. Let's see if we can get this started. There we go, it started. So now we're going to need a hex wrench to tighten this up. Like I said, this will be snug, but it should go right in there, because I have about 1/1000th clearance there, which means 1/2 on each side. So that means it'll just kind of rub lightly, and I can feel it rubbing, but it's not binding or preventing it from going in. But I can feel it is touching, and that's actually good, because that will help prevent any lateral movement. and you just keep turning it until finally the head of this bolt bottoms out against a little shoulder in there, which we were careful to maintain. Okay, it's starting to snug up. And there we go. Tight. I can see my pistol grip's got a slight rotation. We'll remove that. There we go. Rotation's gone. And we'll keep it in that orientation as we return and snug this up. There we go. Slightly bigger hole with a longer bolt put in there. That US machine gun includes with their kit to put this together. Alright, so now we need to put our recoil spring back in, which means we gotta remember to put this little block in here first. There we go. Recoil spring. There we go. Next comes the cover. Remember, the cover's not difficult, but it is slightly tricky in that you have to make sure that the front end of the cover remains underneath this lip here. And if it is, that will allow the back end of the cover, this edge here, to go not to the back of this little lip here on the back of the receiver, but rather front of it, so that the cover stays underneath the little lip here. Let's see if we can do that. There we go. It is in place. So I don't know what you think, but for me, this is a lot better piece than it was originally, with this highly functional and comfortable and yet sort of ugly handguard. I also have on the back the ability to put my wrist through here. Of course, I'll tighten the strap up and be able to fire the gun like this, because it's going to be heavy when you're holding it out at arm's length, especially with, for example, a 30 round magazine installed. There you go. So now we're going to goes around this way. We're going to demonstrate the folding ability of this adapter here for my arm brace. It's not difficult, although I've noticed I need to know where to put my hands and how hard to push. Hang on a sec. Very good. So after I try that a couple, 3-4 times, I'll know where to position my hands and how to push, and it should be easy. And there's the arm brace in the folded position. Notice how when it's in the folded position for a right-handed shooter, I still have very good, easy, unhindered access to my trigger guard, and I can fire this Micro Draco in the folded position. And then, Unfold it whenever I need, and then put my hand through here. Of course, I won't be doing that right now, but put my hand through here. It provides a fulcrum and allows me to hold this this rather large and heavy pistol, which offers a pretty awesome amount of firepower out at arm's length. It's the pretty decent little sight, so I plan on putting probably a light and a laser right here. If so, then this may end up doing some home protection duty, and that's about it. This is the Micro Draco Makeover.